Fox News is projecting former President Donald Trump has won the 2024 presidential election.
As of now, Fox News projecting Trump currently has 277 electoral college votes.
So Trump won the election, and that's going to come as a big surprise to most of New York, which voted 55% in favor of Vice President Harris. But even though Trump won, many progressive policies heavily supported in New York City itself, like liberal immigration laws, go against the platform he got elected on and may govern from. Which means that some really strange things are going to start happening here, especially concerning the asylum crisis.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
President-elect Trump celebrating victory in the
Mr. President, what are your thoughts on getting elected to president? Again, that's crazy.
presidential race.
This is about 20 minutes ago. The AP declared Trump the winner over Vice President Kamala Harris.
Too loud?
The greatest comeback in American political history. I mean, we've never seen anything like this.
With the arrival of more than 200,000 migrants to the Big Apple, New York City has spent more than $5 billion on the migrant crisis.
New York and New Jersey, blue states, how might these election results be felt in our area?
That's the story of the whole election, is that Donald Trump did better in Democratic areas than he did last time around.
A new warning about a dangerous Venezuelan...
I think that makes sense. There's a lot of people that have the perception that a lot of these policies, especially with like illegal immigrants and stuff, there's a lot of people who view those, they view them negatively. And they also think that this is a result of Democrat policies. And so they're going to be the ones that are the most affected by them.
Prison gang making deeper inroads in the U.S. The Department of Homeland Security says members of the notorious Tren de Aragua gang are increasingly drawn to sanctuary cities.
I mentioned how President-elect Trump outperformed his 2020 numbers, even in blue areas. Let's put a finer point on that. In 2020, he lost New Jersey by about 16 points. This year, he lost New Jersey by about 5 points.
So I would expect that Democrats are going to continue to try and...
It's like if you go around and like you're driving around and there's basically, you got, look, I mean, you got these hobos around here building rust spaces everywhere. You got people cracked out trying to get one of those like little robots to like trying to hump a robot like that. It's weird, bro. You got the zombies splayed out on the fucking street. No, you don't. Fent zombies. Yeah, bro. People, that's gonna scare people.
Run to the right, they're going to try and run to the middle, and they're going to try and be the moderate or centrist party. But they got some work cut out for them, because I think many people tie the Democrats to the far left.
Yeah, true.
So Donald Trump has defied the odds and become president of this country once again. But what nobody's talking about is that this totally changes New York City's relationship with our federal government, and it's going to have a massive impact on immigration, but not in the way most people think. Because in many ways, New York City is and remains the focal point of the asylum crisis here in America. And when this crisis first began, Mayor Adams was initially receptive to the idea of thousands of folks coming here to seek a better life. But after thousands came, thousands more decided to do the exact same thing. And as of right now, we've got over 212,000 people.
Are these migrants, or are these just people that live in New York? Like, I don't even know.
Come to New York, fleeing poverty, seeking the American dream. And because of New York City's generous right to shelter rules, everyone's been offered a free place to stay, which is great because it's kept families from having to live out on the street, but it hasn't exactly been sustainable, which is why many of those same families are now
it's going to make people mad, because there are people that can't afford to live in a house, and then these people are getting a house paid for. And if you're a citizen and they're giving a house, or they're giving basically like giving housing, some form of housing, like I know it's not maybe a house in every case, probably not in New York, but they're providing housing to people that aren't even citizens, that's going to make you mad. I mean, I'm shocked that this is even, how is this a mystery to anyone? It's like, I mean, I feel like if you can't figure out why this is going to cause problems, you're dumb. Like, I don't know what else to say. There's homeless vets who fought in our country, and these guys get free housing. That's horrendous. Exactly, right? Yeah. And I think that's the way that a lot of people see it, for sure.
being evicted from New York's shelter system. And since that shelter system isn't helping people get jobs, many of these folks are just as homeless now as they were before they moved in, and they certainly haven't achieved the American dream, which was the whole...
We have this in Austin, by the way. Like, my personal opinion is I don't really mind the Rust Spaces. I kind of find them interesting to see the kind of stuff that they put together. Like, there's one guy, and, like, he sits... I don't know how this happened, but he got a lazy boy, and he took it to, like, an intersection, and he just has the lazy boy. You know how, like, sometimes there's, like, two roads, and there'll be, like, a green, like, area of grass in the middle, like a what's it called? Like a mid lane or whatever the fuck it is. Well, he has a lazy boy in the middle of that, right? A median. Yeah, there you go. It's a median. He has a lazy boy right on top of it, and all around him are beer bottles, right? And people just give this guy money every fucking day. Every fucking day, he just sits out there on the lazy boy drinking, and people are just giving him money, just one after another. I've seen people give him tons of... I was in a McDonald's drive-thru, I probably watched him make $100 while I was sitting there. It was crazy. So, I mean, to me, I find it to be... And I know it's not, like, really a good thing, but I do find it to be kind of amusing to see the kind of stuff that they do. Just like streamers who beg. Yeah, he's probably making more money than streamers are.
Point of this process. But the real reason a Donald Trump presidential victory represents a huge challenge for New York is because this is still a sanctuary city. And as such, it's going to continue to be a destination, not just for people wishing to emigrate to America, but also for people who want to come here because they can hide from federal immigration authorities. And as you're about to see, New York City could soon become one of the last places in America where folks at odds with our nation's laws will be able to stay. And with pockets
of... Well, that's not really going to happen. Like, I mean, realistically, I mean, the federal government is always going to overrule. Like, I mean, they have jurisdiction over this stuff. So it's not like they can tell the federal government no. So, yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Gang activity spreading across our country already, not just in New York, but in other places like Colorado and Texas. There exists the possibility that New York City, with its sanctuary doors wide open, will still see continued migration, not from well-meaning individuals, but from those who have a criminal past and the desire for a crime-filled future. Which is bad news, not just for New Yorkers, but also for the 65,000 asylum seekers still living here. I did the other thing.
That's a lot. 65,000. Damn.
So here we are, Trump Tower. That's the front entrance. It's about 12 o'clock the day after the election. And it's not too crazy. No protesters, nothing wild, no megaphones, no crowds. But some people here might start doing that once the new president takes over and starts doing...
They did. They did. They did. They did it the first time. They did after he got elected, like a day or two after. And then they're going to do it again.
Things that they disagree with.
New York and New Jersey, blue states, how might these election results be felt in our area?
In New York, there's actually a number of congressional seats that seem to have gone from Republican to Democrat. And right now, that's the last chance that the Democrats have to hold on to any of the House. They lost the Senate, they lost the presidency. So that could be a big deal nationally.
So according to the official results, as a state, New York voted 55% in favor of Vice President Harris. New York is not a state that voted for President Trump. For reference, in 2016, Hillary Clinton won New York State with 59% of the vote. And President
Biden... It is kind of crazy that the one state that he's from has the least amount of people that vote for him. I mean, you got to ask yourself, why is that?
Biden outperformed Hillary, winning over 60% of the vote in New York, which means that even though Donald Trump may have won a stunning victory, and even though this may be one of the greatest political comebacks of all time, he didn't win New York at all. He lost. He lost by just about as much as he always loses, and what that means is many of the people here do...
I would say going from 59, like loss, of 59.5 to 55, that's a huge increase. That's like half. Like you effectively cut you cut your losses in half this time. It's massive, yeah.
Not want Trump laws, they do not want Trump policies, they do not want to see him govern on the platform that he ran upon, that's for sure. And as a sanctuary city, New York itself...
That's not the way it works. It's like when Obama was president, like Texas has to do what Obama says because he's the fucking president. Biden's president. They have to do what the fuck Biden says because he's the president. Like, it's just, what are we talking about? It's just such a stupid way to look at things. Like, it's the United States of America. We had a whole war over this. It's crazy that people think this.
Already exists in opposition somewhat to federal laws it doesn't like, and it's been doing that for all 4 years of the past presidential administration, which many say is the reason the asylum crisis here looks the way it does. Remember, this all started here back in 2022, and it really started growing in 2023, and we've still got around 65,000 individuals living in our shelter system, which is supposed to be helping them become sufficient, but is failing in that mission because it's not part of a greater purpose of actually connecting these people with jobs and the future many of them were promised when they moved in. Instead, all our shelter system has really provided people with is the opportunity to fill out asylum paperwork and not much else. However, our right to shelter rules, they're not going away anytime soon. Those were not on our recent ballots. That was not something that's been voted on. And even if a new president does come in and close our borders completely, there are still thousands of people in this country right now with legal permission to be here waiting for their asylum cases to play out. And unfortunately, there are also quite a few people in this country that have ties to dangerous criminal organizations. We're talking at least 600 known associates of a dangerous Venezuelan gang. Tren de Aragua is the name of it, which started in a prison in that country a few years ago. And that gang is now here. There have been reports of gang members living in some of the city's own funded shelters that are supposed to help.
Why don't they just, if they have gang members, why don't they just ask the federal government for, like, I don't know, the National Guard or like some sort of assistance to like get rid of them? Like, why they even let it happen? I don't get it. Yeah, optics? It's just weird, bro. Like, it's so weird. I mean, the thing is, like, look at El Salvador. Bro, that guy turned shit around. You know, he has over an 80% approval rating? I think it's like 86%, too.
Asylum seekers, creating a situation here that's not only very bad for the people the asylum crisis is named after because they can't actually get the help they need or achieve anything if gang members with weapons control where they live and exploit them, but this is also a potential problem for New York because of how popular Donald Trump now is on a national level. He didn't just win an electoral victory, he also won the popular vote. It's very likely that he could govern on what he ran on, and some in New York may see this as an opportunity to oppose that by doubling down on sanctuary type policies that don't actually help people who really need it.
While we're speaking of New York and New Jersey, are you surprised to see the actual total numbers? Usually these are obviously tried and true blue states.
That's the story of the whole election, is that Donald Trump did better in Democratic areas than he did last time around. And it wasn't an enormous...
I think one form of messaging that's really worked very well is that it's the messaging that the problems that you have economically and with like, illegal immigration or with migrants or whatever are a result of Democrat policies and Democrats. So you're going to have a lot of people that are feeling like the squeeze of like inflation or whatever. I think that the message has been conveyed effectively that it's the fault of the Democrats. Whether you agree whether it is or not, I think that is the prevailing consensus that many people have. And I think that's why a lot of people voted the other way. Do you think part of the reasoning for these immigrants from Democrat cities was to groom them as Democrat voters? I think that's a big component, yeah. I think that if all of the people coming in, the illegal immigrants coming in, were, let's say, maybe from Russia that were extremely conservative, I bet Democrats would have a much bigger problem with it. Absolutely. Yeah, so, like, I mean, of course, that's a subtext. Do I think that's the main reason? Maybe, maybe not, right? But I do think that if they had opposite political affiliation, you wouldn't see as much support for it as you do now.
Change most of the places. It was 2 or 3 percentage points, but the race and the electorate is so divided that that's all.
So the key word, unfortunately, here is division. New York is
Somebody said Latinos are conservative as fuck. I understand that, but you understand that, like, the way that they voted this election was an anomaly. Because for many, many years, this has been the prevailing thinking. Yeah, they found out. Latinos are also not monolithic. Yeah, there's actually that too.
So the key word, unfortunately, here is division. New York is very divided from how many states and many voters feel about our upcoming new president. And that's probably only going to become even more apparent as 2025 rolls around and he takes office for the second time. And even though the asylum crisis as a whole may change with less people entering the country through ports of entry or through the borders, it is ridiculous to think that cities like New York with progressive leaders won't rise up in opposition to that in some way, potentially passing policies that don't exactly make the asylum crisis better, even though they claim to. Like our right to shelter policy, which doesn't actually help people. Yes, it lets you move into a former hotel or into one of the gigantic tents out on Randall's Island, but it just does that. It's not actually helping people get on their feet and achieve the American dream, yet it exists, and it's something Republicans complain about, so maybe more of that will keep happening, even though it's not.
I've been seeing a lot more squirrels ever since Trump won. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe not. I've been seeing way more squirrels.
Actually benefiting the very people who move into those shelters. Again, these are dangerous environments in many cases. Police are banned from going inside of them because this is a sanctuary city. So our local law enforcement that has plenty of resources to keep...
I find it to be absolutely outrageous that the police are banned from being able to accurately uphold the law. I don't understand what kind of brain rot, brain dead, dumb fuck decision it is to make it to where they can't go in and enforce the legal laws, but somehow people have convinced themselves into believing this is a good thing. It's astonishing to me.
The president's safe with all these checkpoints and stuff over here. They're not allowed to go into our shelters and patrol them looking for people who might be breaking the law. They're only allowed in if they've got a warrant for a specific individual. And what this does is this creates places that are more akin to like a minimum security prison because you've got gang members who are actually in charge in there, not law enforcement, not the city.
And like if you were a gang, like I'd probably try and do the same thing, right? Because like if you can get in there and get a bunch of these people to like commit crime for you and do shit for you really cheap because they're like not really from here, yeah, it's a huge, massive advantage. Absolutely, sure. Like a lot of the guys in like these gangs, like they're not stupid. Like they might be like psychopaths or they might be sociopaths or they might be criminals, but they're not stupid people.
And this is not hyperbole either. It's out there for everyone who wants to see and look at it. New York's sanctuary status is actually aiding people who aren't here to help anybody but themselves in an illegal manner. And these are the results of bad policies, not because the asylum seekers themselves are bad, absolutely not, but because bad people are allowed to take advantage of laws that aren't protecting those who really need it. But sadly, the right to shelter system will probably remain in its current state, not actually doing anything to help people, and some here will brag about it as a badge of pride because in their minds they're resisting tyranny and
we're helping, and meanwhile there's just a bunch of Haitians living in a tent indefinitely. Yeah, you're helping, for sure. Great, they're resisting.
Standing up for democracy against a president.
It reminds me of you know, like the South Park episode where they flew the whale to the moon.
They dislike, and with 55% of the state voting the way that they have pretty much in every other presidential election, the politics of New Yorkers as a whole aren't realigning, even though some political analysts are predicting that there will be a movement towards the center from those who may have previously been associated with left-leaning policies.
I think that most people that, like, as soon as they're negatively impacted by this migration or immigration, they will immediately swap over to the other party and immediately vote for it. Because, like, if you look at this in like a meta level, a lot of the reasons why people are racist is because they had a negative personal experience of the race that they don't like. So, like, you know, you don't like black people. Why do you not like black people? Well, you had a bad experience with a black person. It's like, oh, you don't like Hispanics? Okay, well, what happened? Why? Well, you had a bad experience with a Hispanic person, right? Think about how many women hate men. You don't really hate men. You just hate your ex-boyfriend who was mean to you. Or your dad. Or both. Shaped by media? It's built up by media, sure.
coming to how people run elections now going forward, even next November.
So, one of the interesting things is that I can use the New Jersey 7th congressional district as an example. The candidate, the Democrat, she was very, very progressive and very, very left. She tried to run to the middle and didn't get there fast enough, and she lost. So I would expect that Democrats are going to continue to try and run to the right. They're going to try and run to the middle, and they're going to...
Yeah, nothing that New York City does in the near future is going to change any of that. I don't think there's going to be much of a realignment here at all, and that's because many of our notable elected officials were able to win by landslide margins without changing anything. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she won 70-30, which means she was more popular in her own district than Vice President Harris was on a state level. And she's going to be on...
Which makes sense. I mean, to be fair, it makes sense. Because also, like, there could be very, very clearly, she's like a well-known person now. She's been in politics now for like over 5 years. She's very young. People talk about her a lot. And so it could be also that she ran against a moron, right? There's also that factor too. She's a well-known meme. Yeah, a lot of people know her. And she's hot. Yeah, she is. That's also true.
A lot of pressure because as Donald Trump starts his second presidential term and starts doing things, there won't be too many progressive voices of opposition if people start moderating like they very well may in other parts of the country. Many of our local progressive leaders will be looked at as the voice of reason, and local progressives probably aren't going to change their positions on anything from immigration to inflation to jobs to taxes. Nope. And as far as local politics here goes, I don't think you're going to have this running to the center, so to speak. It might actually be the opposite. You may have people take more extreme positions than they did in the past because there is so much national progressive pressure.
I think if that happens, it's just going to alienate more people. And then by the time the next election comes around, assuming it's a person that like kind of goes with the same type of like value system that Trump did, I could see Republicans being even closer to winning. Yeah, because like the thing is that every single time that a lot of people are very generous with other people's time and other people's money, but the moment that these things affect them on a personal level, that's when things start to change. And so the moment that people feel like they're being negatively affected by migration, they'll immediately go against it because they don't really care about the politics of it or the ideal of it. They just care about like sounding good, but all of that goes completely in the garbage the moment that their personal well-being is in threat. Alienate who? They reelected AOC again? Well, yeah, because she's not the one that's going to do that. She has nothing to do with the deportations or anything like that. That's Trump.
But it can only go to those who still hold views that are in direct opposition to what people in many parts of the country, including swing states, voted against. And there's going to be a lot of people in New York who see their beliefs as a counterbalance to what they think is a problem for America. And there's still a large portion of the traditional media world that is very upset with this Trump victory. Up until election night, he wasn't supposed to win this thing. He was actually down in polling. That slowly started to change.
I don't think he was down in polling. I think all polls are rigged. I think they're total bullshit. I don't know why anybody would believe the polls.
After the votes came in and were counted, but 538, that's what the most reputable polling thing out there. Well, that guy, Nate Silver, he's thrown out his model saying that it doesn't accurately predict elections, and he was supposed to be one of the most accurate. But hopefully something can be done to help the actual asylum seekers, because we've still got 65,000 of them living in shelters, and they're not being prepared in any way to reach for what New York said they were going to get when they moved in. Many of them are now so homeless that they're living.
We're helping. Guys, look at us. We're helping.
In tents outside of the shelters where they moved into, and they have to do that because they have to go back to the shelters to get their mail, and the mail contains their asylum information. So we'll have to see what happens with that. We've still got a very big humanitarian crisis on our hands here in New York, and it's a problem that's probably not going to get fixed through political stuff. Because
that's actually really sad. I'm going to be honest, because it's going to kill a lot of them. I bet it will. Fuck, man, that sucks. Man. Yeah, 0 below winter? Yeah, that's really sad.
That's what brought it here. It needs to start helping actual people. But what do you think about that? How would you go about fixing New York City's asylum crisis? And do you think that a lot of people are going to be asked to leave the country? Do you think many asylum applications are going to get denied? Do you think New York is going to see more migration from folks who may have been told to leave the country and don't want to and come here specifically because this is a sanctuary city? And how is that going to impact the legitimate goals of real asylum seekers, who are the vast majority of these folks to begin with? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.
Well, I think, like, I really like this guy. You know, he makes videos a lot about, like, New York and just, like, what's going on there. And I find it to be really interesting. There's the video. Give it a like. This was really, really good. And I think this is going to keep happening, by the way. I'll probably watch a follow-up to this in a couple of days. And so, basically, Trump appointed this guy. This is the guy.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
So, they're going with a pretty extreme approach. Yeah, that's the borders are. And so, let's take a look at, here he comes. Actually, let's see. We'll start from the beginning here. There's another one. Meet the new border czar. Here we go. Dude's got the kingpin energy. He does.
Mr. Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was
She didn't know what to say after that.
interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking.
Oh, here we go. Oh, boy.
Asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
So, man. We got the receipts. Yeah, okay. Yep, got it. And so he did another interview. I'll see if I can watch this one. Apparently this one just happened today. Here we go.
I think, look, it'd be great to have local law enforcement assist ICE because, you know, one thing we learned during 9/11 report was we shouldn't have stovepipes. Law enforcement should work with law enforcement. But, you know, there's two things. Number one, under President Trump, he was suing the sanctuary cities, DOJ suing the sanctuary cities, pulling federal funds. Of course, day one, when Joe Biden came in office, he stopped that lawsuit. So that has to be put back in place. And look, I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, you know, a suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way, but we're going to do it. So if
so you can do it one way or another. Oh boy.
We can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send in New York City, because we're going to do the job.
Jesus.
We're going to do the job without you or with you. But it's much easier to arrest a bad guy. Like I just said, we're concentrating on public safety threats of human and national security threats. Right. It's much easier to arrest a bad guy in the jail. Give us access to Rikers Island that we've been kicked out of. Let us get the bad guy in the jail. It's safer for the alien. It's safer for the officer. It's safer for the community. But if you're going to release these bad guys, if you're going to release these bad guys out in the community, then we're going to have to go find them, which puts the officer at risk, puts the community at risk, and puts, and bottom line is, it's no one, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And the left keeps saying, well, we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel safe.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. He's ramping up? Yeah. He's mad? Yeah.
They've come to the police department knowing we don't work with life. Let me make one thing clear. That's just a stone cold lie. Victims and witnesses of a crime does not want the bad guy back in their neighborhood.
That's true.
Certainly. And most the illegal immigrant community, they broke the law being there, they shouldn't be. However, after being there, they're God-fearing family people. I get it. Do they want a sexual predator in their neighborhood? Do they want someone convicted of DUI 10 times in their neighborhood? Let us protect not only the American communities, let us protect the immigrant community. Who's the victim of MS-13 crime? Yeah. The immigrant community.
That's what we just watched, see? Yeah. You're probably right about that.
If sanctuary cities don't want to help us, to get the hell out of the way, because we're coming. Yeah. So, if sanctuary cities don't want to help us, to get the hell out of the way, because we're coming.
Oh, man. Oh, God, bro. Like, yeah. Wow. Voice is dog shit? Yeah, I know the audio was dog shit. I get it. But, yeah, this is going to be the new guy in charge of the border. This is it. You guys are not alone. I don't know if you know, but a lot of European countries are moving to the right and showing less and less tolerance, especially in immigration. Yeah, I've heard that. I don't really know. I'm not European, right? So, like, I'm only observing this from a distance. But I have heard a lot of people say that for sure. Have you noticed that no one ever said borders are before 2016? What's up with that? I don't know either. Yeah, I've never really heard of it, to be honest. Who lets them be sanctuary cities? I mean, the people that vote there, right? I mean, that's pretty much it. So, yeah. Shit, I just lost my job. Sounds like Border Patrol and National Guard are going to be hiring. Yeah, bro, like, yeah, sign up now. If they declare a national emergency or use national security, would they be able to override all the sanctuary stuff? I think that Trump being the president, having the alignment of the agency that he wants to act, also having the alignment of the Senate, and the Supreme Court, and probably also the House, I think that he'll find a way. Or he could just do fucking nothing. All of this could all just be, oh, wow, everything's going to change, and then the same time next year, everything's going to be the fucking same. There's definitely that, too. So don't rule any of that stuff out yet, okay?